Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, Bahasham Rachakorash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and sincere Shalom to the hopeful electors out there listening, learning, and or teaching. Shalom. So yeah, man, y'all saw that video. I know when I first saw it, I got really excited, man, and I'm still excited. The Lord is doing a lot of things, man. The Lord is showing himself strong, all right? We've been seeing chariot activity for the past, few years. It's been escalating a lot, okay? And for this gigantic fathership, to cross in front of the sun the way it did was incredible, man. All right, and y'all can see in the video that lady was talking about how there was smaller UFOs around it, kind of crossing in front of the sun here, going diagonally, going up, going down, going left, going right, and so hey, the Lord is showing himself strong, man. The Lord is getting ready to destroy this place called America and Babylon, man. All right, for all the wickedness and evil and injustice that we had to suffer at the hands of these devils, these Edomites, these so-called white people. All right, and YAHAWASHI is coming in that great power to save his elect of the nation of Israel. And who are the Israelites? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. All right, as you can see here, I got the picture blown up, kind of like, so you can see it more clearly. And I filled this little circle here in yellow, just so you can understand that was the sun. That little white circle was the sun. Okay, so that you can understand the type of power that Yahawah, Bahasham YAHAWASHI is coming with, man. All right, so you can see the size comparison, man. Okay, so there's no telling how big this thing is. All right, and when it does finally hit Earth, or starts hovering over Earth, man, people gonna be freaking the fuck out, man, like never before, man. That's why the scriptures say that all people will wail because of him, man. All right, let's go ahead. We're gonna start in Psalms chapter 68 and verse 17. It says, the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels, right? So the angels ride in the chariots. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. So let's get this word chariot in the Hebrew. Chariots, H7393.
Strong's H7393. Rechev.
A team, chariot, chariotry, millstone, riders. All right. And let's see, horsemen, ass riders, camel riders. Here we go. A vehicle. By implication, a team. Right. YAHAWASHI is the Lord of hosts. The word hosts means armies. So you can understand. That's why they're called chariots, because they're vehicles of war. All right, just like now your modern day chariots that Edom, the so-called white man, uses, are his his tanks. All right, his different Gatling gun mounted on top of these these Jeep-looking vehicles. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the military vehicles with the gun on top. Okay, that's Esau's weapons of war, man. But the Lord Yahawah Bahasham YAHAWASHI's weapons of war is on a whole nother level, man. All right, so that's what it means by chariot. Because remember, the Bible is a book of dark sayings, it's a book of metaphors. So you can't always take a particular word literally. Like chariot is not talking about clearly. For those of you that are new, because, those that have been watching this for a while, you already know. All right, but those that are new, okay, we always bring it back to the basics so you can understand. A chariot, in the ancient world was something that a horse would drag along and somebody would sit on it, right? It would have these wooden wheels and, some metal in there to hold it together, and men with swords and bow and arrows and spears would sit on it and fight in a war. Okay? But, in the modern time, we know that that's talking about these four-dimensional spacecraft that the Lord is coming in, man. Because the Lord's on a whole nother level, man. All right? Why would the Lord come in a wooden buggy with horses, man? You see? And we're going to prove it to you through the scriptures today that it's not talking about that. It's not talking about a wooden buggy. This is a metaphor. All right? So the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. So remember that word chariots? This is Psalms 104 verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers, which chambers goes into rooms, because there's rooms inside of these giant chariots. All right, this is like a whole plant, a whole solar system in this chariot, man. All right, but let's go back. Psalms 104 and 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. You see, the clouds are the Lord's chariots. So you can understand when you see the word clouds in the scriptures, that's that's a code word for a chariot or a so-called UFO. When you see the word cloud, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. See, because these chariots fly. Okay, and they go on the waters above, which the waters is talking about outer space. All right, and these waters in the ocean, because we've seen videos of the chariots go into the ocean. We've seen chariots go into outer space. We've seen chariots in the physical atmosphere. So these chariots can go anywhere, man. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1. The burden of Egypt. Egypt is America, another code word. Behold, Yahawah rideth upon a swift cloud. All right, what type of cloud have you seen in the sky that's fast, that's swift? When you think swift, you think of a race car. You think of a fighter jet, something very insanely fast that's maneuvering, that has agility and the ability to turn quickly, All right, remember that word cloud is a code word for chariot, which is a what? So-called UFO. So behold, Yahawah rideth upon a swift cloud, or UFO, so-called UFO. And shall come into Egypt, right? Here into America. And the idols, right? These different gods that these Americans worship shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, right? People are going to be shitting their pants, man. Because these people think, that these chariots in the sky, that, it's either a joke. They think it's blue beam, or whatever program Esau has. I think it's called Blue Beam, which that is a real thing, but there's gonna be a difference between this fake little blue beam and the real deal when YAHAWASHI returns, man. It's gonna be a major difference. You're gonna know when it's real. All right. But like it says here, the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, man, because the people are going to be freaking the fuck out. I mean, imagine you see a giant fathership that covers the entire sky from one end of the horizon to the other, and you can't see the end of it. That's how big this thing is, and that's the vision that Ezra saw. Okay, we have that account here, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Right? Those are those angels. What's that man? That man is YAHAWASHI, and he waxed strong with the thousands of angels in heaven. Right? Heaven is the sky. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Right? The heart of Egypt will melt. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they turned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. Because these chariots are going to be shooting their laser beams at these different monuments here in America. Certain people are going to be getting zapped. Okay? Verse 5, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven. Right, so men from around the world were getting together. It says to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Right, all these nations are going to get their armies together. You know, they're going to already be fighting over there in World War III, as the scriptures say. And then that's when YAHAWASHI is going to show up. And when YAHAWASHI shows up, you know, you can remember back to that Ronald Reagan speech where he said, you know, we would forget all of our differences if an alien threat came to attack us. We would put our differences aside and get together to fight against that threat. Okay, so Esau has already put it into the mind of the people that we need to, quote unquote, unite against these aliens, because they know, Esau knows there's something out there. All right, these elite international bankers, they have teams of scholars to break down the Bible for them. They know the scriptures say, all right, that Yahweh Bahashim YAHAWASHI is coming in a giant spaceship. And there's nothing they could do about it. But these devils are so proud, pursuant to Obadiah chapter 1, right? The pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, right? Who are the original cavemen, these so-called white people. You see, they like to live in a dark, cold environment. You know, they created this earth. They turned it into, or they didn't create this earth. They turned this earth into a giant cave. You have concrete everywhere. All right. You know, when you go work at these warehouses, it's all fucking concrete. People standing on concrete all day with back pain. Shit don't make no sense. The roads are concrete. The fucking sidewalks are concrete. Hell, a lot of our houses are concrete, and then they put this fake wood or fake plastic on top to make it look like it's something else, but it's really just concrete with a design on top of it. All right, you know, these devils got to go, and you know, it's a multitude of things that this man Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is guilty for, and the Lord is coming to destroy him and his kingdom, and the riches and the spoils of this kingdom are going to go to the Israelites. All right, and call Halal YAHAWASHI YAHAWASHI, man. That's the day of salvation. All right, but like it says here, I'm gonna read it again because I kind of got, you know, into a little tangent there. Verse 5 again, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. The sea, remember, there's the waters below and there's the waters above. So it's talking about the atmosphere above, and then you got outer space. That's that sea up there, and then the sea down here is the ocean, right? Because we read up here, it was talking about the heaven. Okay, and you can get that understanding, you know, where the water is talking about, you know, the sky or the universe, outer space. You can get that in the book of Genesis. It talks about that. Okay, because remember, you got to understand these scriptures all connect. You can't understand what's written in a chapter without understanding what's written in, you know, a multitude of other chapters. You see, that's why we tell you, you know, the Lord didn't give this understanding to just anybody. Only the hopeful elect, or Salakia, only the elect have this understanding. All right, and we call ourselves the hopeful elect because we don't know if we're the elect, because nobody knows until the end. All right, we hope that we are a part of that number. Okay, but the Lord has given, you know, our people this understanding, the Israelites. Okay, you go to the so-called Christian church, which is nothing but white supremacy, and you're not going to get any real understanding out of there, man. You're just not. But yeah, so Salakia for, you know, I keep going off on different topics, but let's get back to the point, okay? Lord's will, this lesson won't be too long. So verse 5, you know, it's basically saying the Lord is coming from outer space, and all the nations are going to gather together to fight against him. Verse 6, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Right, that's that great mountain that you see here, man. Because Esdras is describing in the vision what he's seeing with the limited knowledge he knows. Okay, the word spaceship did not exist back then. And it doesn't have to exist, because the Lord doesn't want to write the word spaceship in the Bible, because then everybody would understand it. And it's not for everybody to understand. Only for a specific group called the elect. And everybody else that doesn't understand it is to their own destruction, because they don't want to understand it. They don't have the right mindset that the Lord is looking for in the elect. Because the elect has that mindset, because the Lord created the elect to be the elect. This is all the Lord's movie, man. The creator of the heavens and the earth, this is all his movie. He controls everything, good and evil. The Lord creates his own enemies. Okay, so you people need to learn to fear YAHAWASHI. You haven't learned yet. You're going to learn. You know, you better learn watching these videos, or else you're going to learn when this thing shows up, man. Then you're going to learn real quick. All right? But yeah, let's continue. We'll read verse 6 again. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Right? And again, that's that giant fathership. And he flew upon it. Right? Like we read right here, verse 19 and 1 of Isaiah. The burden of Egypt, America. Right? Behold, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud. Right? The cloud is the chariot. Right? Also, what Esdras called a mountain, because it was so dang large, man. You see? But anyway, let's get back to 2nd Esdras 13. This is verse 7. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. Right, so Esdras was looking around to see where did the Lord get this giant mountain from? Did he carve it out of the, that area over there to my right? No. Did he carve it out of this area to my left over here? No. The ground hasn't been carved out. So where is this giant, infinite mountain that's floating above my head? Where did it come from? You see? Amen. The scriptures never miss. All right? Verse 8, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Right? These armies, they're going to be utterly terrified. Damn near to the point of death, but they still fight. And it may be that these devils, all right, because we know before Yahawashi's return, all right, these international banking families are going to force the whole world, the majority of people in this world, except for the elect, to take a chip in their hand or in their forehead to be able to buy and sell. And the one in the forehead is talking about that Neuralink chip. You got Neuralink, you got Synchron, you got these other companies out there that have these brain chips. And it's very likely, when you get into the military, they're going to force you to get a brain chip, and they'll be able to control your mind, man. Because who in their fucking right mind is going to take orders to fight against such a great force, such a great power that you stand no chance against? That's like an ant trying to fight an army of elephants and cheetahs, because it's not just this giant fathership. You're going to have the angels, the smaller chariots, One chariot by itself could destroy this whole earth, man. But the Lord, what he's going to do is an overkill. The same way he's going to destroy America with this thermonuclear destruction. The scriptures talk about 200 million nuclear missiles. All right, that's overkill. It doesn't even take that many to destroy America. But the Lord, when he makes an end to something, he makes a dramatic end to it. And that's the way the Lord is, man. The Lord is a man of war. All right, pursuant to the book of Exodus. So yeah, man, these armies are going to be terrified when the Lord gets here. Verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, right? That's that large, massive laser beam coming out of that father shit. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and a smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. And that's the Lord establishing his dominance, okay? Because, the Lord is going to have it so that these nations, first of all, the Lord's controlling the mind of these kings to have these people go to war in the Middle East. Once all these armies are over there together, the Lord's going to fight them all at once, man. So the Lord is doing almost like, if y'all seen that movie, The Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey, when I was in school, they played that shit in the classroom, and it's this dude who goes on he goes to war, and then he gets lost in sea. Long story short, 10 years later, he comes back to his original kingdom where the people thought he was dead. Spoiler alert, by the way. And, he goes to his wife who's being pursued by all these men. And he sets it up so that all those men end up in a room with him alone, and he locks the doors. All right, and you can already imagine what happens. And by the way, it's him and his son who's in there. And both of them together, they fuck everybody up, put them all to death. And where do you think they got that idea? You see, that's exactly how Yahweh, Bahashem YAHAWASHI, is going to be coming back. They coming back together, Yahweh and YAHAWASHI, the angels, But, ultimately, YAHAWASHI is going to take all these people down, man, because he's coming to do the Lord's bidding. All these nations, all these different realms are going to be put under his feet. That's why the scriptures talks about how YAHAWASHI wears many crowns. All right, when he comes back, he's going to have many crowns because he's going to dethrone all these kings, man. He's taking all these kings down. All right. Afterwards saw I the same man come down from the mountain and call unto him another peaceable multitude. You see? So yeah, man, that's that mountain. That's that giant chariot, man. That's what we're seeing here. All right, and just to finish it off, we're going to go to Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Again, cloud is a code word for a chariot, right? That vehicle, them vehicles, man, them so-called UFOs, the chariots of Yahweh Bahashem YAHAWASHI. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, right? Because they're back today in the reincarnation. Those Roman soldiers that pierced YAHAWASHI. It says, in all kindreds, right? The word kindreds is talking about races of people. All right? All these nations know this is their end, man. All right? Their pact with Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is going to come to naught because YAHAWASHI is coming to take all you nations out of power, man. We're next. We got next. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. All right? The world will be given to us under Yahweh Bahashem YAHAWASHI, of course. Right, so like it says, in all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. That's right, all you nations going to be wailing and crying. Do you blame them? If I saw something like this and I knew it wasn't on my side, I'd be wailing too, man. But for us, we going to be crying tears of joy. All right, Lord's will, we be counted worthy to stand before the Son of Man. All right, so stay in the faith, Yasharallah. Keeping the faith. Staying prayed up, being circumspect. I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem Rachakurash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone and taught us this truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom wa, abad babal. Shalom.